Hey everybody, latest podcast coming to you from my kitchen with the full intention of going to our new studio in the gym today, but running out of time. So here we are recording in the kitchen yet again. It's almost like it's COVID again. Thankfully not. So now it's me and a cup of coffee as always, and good meal, all good. This time we are sitting down, we're talking about competition jiu-jitsu. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg, for which is a bit weird, and I'm going to talk a little history. And first, we're going to talk scrimmage. So, um, the first thing was when they put up that we were having a scrimmage. The first time we did it, everybody went, "Oh, what?" because they don't know what it means. So just to give you a little bit of history, what the word scrimmage means. So in coaching in the US, if you're coaching sports in the United States, it's a very familiar word. Or if you're familiar with like coaching manuals and stuff like that that are written, which is my experience with written by US coaches. A scrimmage is essentially just live practice. So it's just practice rounds. To give you an example of what, like, say, a basketball scrimmage would be just 5 versus 5. So rather than thinking about drills or small games or anything like that, they do just go 5-on-5 and they just play, and that's a scrimmage. So they'll have their team scrimmage from time to time, practice matches. And then for wrestlers and stuff like that over in the States, there's practice drills, there's training, and then other times you'll just have a scrimmage. So you'll just be like, okay, wrestling guys for the first for the hour of the training session or whatever it is. So that's what scrimmage was all about, just coming down, having live rounds, live practice matches. The idea is that actually the idea was to prepare for competition for people who want to compete. So if there's guys who want to compete at like any level at all, that they get a few practice rounds in a reasonably live environment. So like it's not a perfectly live environment because you're in your own academy, you're in your own gym, but you still have that kind of scoreboard, referee kind of thing. And so what we do is if you weren't there, the first one we actually used scoreboards. This one we didn't bother. We actually had formats going, and we just had a referee in who would just call points as they saw them. So we had 4 of us just out reffing, and everybody else was rolling for 5-minute rounds. And listen, it was really good. The sharpness in the jiu-jitsu changed. You could hear people puffing and blowing the same way they would be at competition. You could see their hands locking up from grips. So it was a very realistic kind of thing. So it's a little bit more competitive than your average round. That's all. For anybody who didn't want to do competition, doesn't want to do competition, that doesn't think of themselves as wanting to go into tournaments. For me, it's a really good test of like, this is what it feels like when somebody is really trying. So not just like a Wednesday night where people are, coming off they've just done like a little bit of technique, they've learned some new move, they want to try that out, they want to try this out. It's like, no, this is me trying to win this match in any way I can. So really good for that, and so you get that kind of little bit of a tester if you're a non-competitive type of person. You just get to test your jiu-jitsu a little bit. And I think it really worked for that. It was really a lot of fun. We had a lot of new people on the mats, a lot of people who'd never experienced that before. Yeah, it was great. Very enjoyable. So that's what a scrimmage is. We'll do another one in a few weeks' time, and we'll invite people down from other academies. Firstly, we did invite people from academies this time. They just couldn't make it for one reason or another. But if you are watching this and you're not from our academy, you're very welcome to come down, clear up with your coach, and even ask him to bring him or her to bring a few more people down as well. We'd like to see people down for it. So that's what that is. I'll tell you some of the history of it. I'll just give you a quick history lesson before I go into competitive jiu-jitsu and why I don't think you should do competitive jiu-jitsu, which is the point of this podcast. I think I'm probably going to title it that. The history of it is actually kind of, because people were asking me about this on Saturday. I got like really interested in MMA and in jiu-jitsu originally because I was like looking at videos by these guys called the Dog Brothers. And I don't know if you'd be familiar with those guys. If you want to have a little YouTube of them here after this video, check that out, because they did these stick fighting meets. So essentially a lot of stick fighting. This is probably going in the direction that you didn't think it would go, but a lot of stick fighting stuff is obviously very theoretical. It's very, very hard to spar with stick. So stick fighting arts like silat and all those kind of stuff, and even knife fighting arts. Like so, jiu-jitsu is what called in martial arts terms. Jiu-jitsu will be what would be called an empty hand martial art, versus something in your hand, like a blade, like a stick, like a staff, or something like that. So in a lot of stick fighting, it's a lot of patterns. It's a lot of theoretical stuff, because they don't want to hit each other with sticks, which is a very sensible thing to do. So the Dog Brothers were these guys who organized these meets, and they would have full contact sparring sessions with stick. So you could have as little equipment, protective equipment, or as much as you wanted. So you could come in wearing like chest armor and body armor and face armor and stuff like that, or you could have as little as you want. And I started watching these videos and I was obsessed with them. I was like, what is this? I'd love to do this. And actually there is a story about me and something else that we won't go into at this time. But I used to watch these and I'd say, well, that's how you test things. That's how you really put it to the test. You don't want to do it too often, because if you do, you'd probably be pretty broken after a very short period of time. But every now and then that you would go and you'd say, okay, this is what it's like to get actually hit full force. This is what it's like to actually feel what a stick feels like in hitting you, or something like that. And there's these crazy videos and crazy things afterwards of like guys with massive lacerations on their shins and stuff like that. And all, you name it, it kind of happened. But you could tap out any time. It was all done like in a park, so there was a circle of people, a ring of people around you, and you would do it that way. And I was like, I gotta go to one of these. That's all I could think about when I was like younger. I was like, I'm gonna go to the Mondays. Gotta go do that. And like it was kind of like that kind of let me, believe it or not, like before like really becoming interested in the UFC or Pride or anything like that. It was actually stuff like that got me into MMA and thinking about martial arts as like something that was all linked together, as opposed to Taekwondo, which is what I was doing at the time, which was just kicking and punching. And then I became interested in grappling and so on, and that's how I ended up here, more or less. So scrimmaging for me is kind of a softer version of that. So if you're going to come in train for 6, 8, 10 weeks, whatever it is, at the end of maybe about 6 or 8 weeks, you're going to want to go and feel what it's like to have somebody really try to not let you do what you want to do, and for them to be actively trying to beat you. Does that happen in hard spars? Yeah, from time to time, but there's also a lot of friendly banter and friendly kind of stuff within those spars as well. So even the hardest spar on a Monday or a Wednesday night, where we do really all of our hard rounds, it's still kind of like, oh well, look, if I get a point scored on me, who cares? Tonight I got to work on my open guard, so it was fine. Which is the way training should be, of course. But when it comes to like doing something like the scrimmage like we did on Saturday, you're actually thinking, okay, I really want to win this whole round. It's not about trying my new sweep or trying my new position or improving my takedowns or improving my open guard or improving my escapes. This is just about me winning this next match. And we did some interesting stuff with it as well. Like we handicap people. So if you're a higher grade, you started 4 points down, and you either had to submit them or you had to get those points back, for example. So we did some stuff like that as well. And listen, I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed watching it. People came away with a good experience of it. Crazy stuff like people talking about their grips. It actually recreated the grip feeling of an actual competitive jiu-jitsu match. So if you've been in competition jiu-jitsu, you'll know that your hands get really tight and grippy very, very quickly, and you come off with your hands pulsing and very, very tight. So it definitely recreated all that, and it was it was an interesting thing, an interesting little experiment. So not quite along the lines of a Dog Brothers meet, but not a million miles off either in terms of the intensity. So nice, good to do, and I think everybody enjoyed it. So come down to the next one if you didn't come down to the previous one. However, here's the caveat, and this is what I want to talk about today, really. if you're not a competitive person, there's no need to compete and there's no need to train in a competition class. So everything you want to get from jiu-jitsu, fitness, camaraderie, self-defense, stress relief, I don't know. Whatever it is, your goal is, you can get from any class other than competition. You can get from any jiu-jitsu class and the study and learning of jiu-jitsu. People should think about competitive jiu-jitsu as like another sport, another thing entirely. So if you want to learn jiu-jitsu, enjoy it, have the crack, have a good time, and ultimately not run the risk of serious injury, regular jiu-jitsu classes, mixed level jiu-jitsu classes are for you. If, however, you're thinking to yourself, I want to push on and either, I want to go on and compete at a national level, I want to compete at an international level, then competitive jiu-jitsu is for you. And it's also for you if you like training that way. So for example, for me, I compete maybe twice a year, maybe once a year now at this stage at 45 in Masters tournaments. But I like training in competition class. I still like that. I still enjoy it. And maybe that will change in a few years' time. Maybe it'll change this year. I don't know. But the feeling of training in a competitive class, where points matter, where I'm trying to get scores, where I'm trying to win the rounds, I enjoy that. That's for me. And that's my style of jiu-jitsu. That's what I want to do. I want to train that way. Other people don't want to train that way. And I can understand that as well. And I still also enjoy the training in a mixed level class where where I'm just rolling for fun, rolling to try and improve and rolling to enjoy it. I also train that way, so I train those ways as well. But if you're somebody who doesn't have great ambition to go out there and win competitions, if you're somebody who is a little bit older, in your mid-30s now, and that's when the risks of injury increase, then you probably shouldn't do it. And that's not to say that you won't do it. I'm saying you shouldn't do it as a calculated risk. For example, Mark Zuckerberg, currently training jiu-jitsu. Actually, he's not half bad if you've seen the videos of him. He posted a video on Instagram because he can do that, or he posted a photo, I should say, on Instagram. He can do that, because he owns it. He can post stuff up there. He actually tore his ACL and he was training for an MMA fight. Now, you can argue the toss on whether a 39-year-old billionaire should be training for an MMA fight. Probably not. But look, it's his prerogative. It's what he wants to do. But at 39, your powers of recovery are less, your flexibility is less, and the risk versus reward factor is very it's really skewed in terms of risk. When you're younger, and listen, I did things to myself like when I was younger, like ankles, knees, stuff like the hip injuries and stuff like that. I was healed from them in like a couple of months and back training again, sometimes still training with the injury. If I tried to do it now, it would literally be physically impossible. And definitely when you're in your 30s, you start to have these things where serious injuries become, I don't want to say like permanent, because it's not what I mean, but serious injuries become harder and harder to recover from, and potentially like have like a longer term impact. That's not to say that if you have a serious injury when you're younger, it won't have a long term impact. But if you tear your ACL in your 20s, you're going to probably make like a 99% recovery, maybe 95, especially with modern techniques. If you tear your ACL in your 30s or 40s, there's a very good chance you're going to lose a good deal of function. You're going to lose springiness, you're going to lose flexibility, and you're going to lose mobility. I tore my PCL earlier this year, and definitely I've actually lost the ability to jump, which is really difficult to accept, to be honest, because I'm actually quite a good long jumper, as some guys who've tried to compete with me down in the gym a few times have discovered. So I've actually lost my ability to jump. I've lost my I've lost some function in that way. That's just the way it is, when you get into your 40s. But the reality is that you have a very, very short career of like competitive jiu-jitsu when you're in your 20s. And people tend to, I tell people all the time, maximize that, burn the boats and go for that. But if you're in your 30s or 40s, you need to sort of measure those risks versus rewards. And if what you're looking for out of jiu-jitsu is self-defense, fitness, camaraderie, community, the enjoyment of like learning something new, and this tremendous thing that jiu-jitsu gives us, which we can't put our finger on, something to do with the contact or whatever it is that we have, in a, I don't want to use the word meditative state, but certainly the stress relief of it is extraordinary. You're going to get all that from training jiu-jitsu, and you don't need to compete to do it, and you don't need to train competitively to do it. Now, if you're somebody who likes to train athletically and you like to train competitively, regardless of your age, then yeah, why not? Why not go for it? And if that's what you want to do, but you need to measure that against the risks, the attendant risks. So, for example, a mixed level class, you come in, or like a regular jiu-jitsu class, whatever your academy calls it, just jiu-jitsu training. You come in, you warm up, you do some movements, you start to prepare for what you're going to learn. Then you learn your new move, or you learn you relearn your old move. Then you do some drilling on that. Then you do some sparring. And the sparring, you're not trying to win. You're trying to do your best, but you're not trying to win. There's no medals for it. In a competition class, you're coming in, you're warming up with the idea of contact. You're getting ready for heavy contact. You're warming up with that in mind. You're probably drilling something that isn't quite so new or exciting. It's probably something that's more like about how to make points click or make points stick, something like that. Make the scoreboard work, and so on. You might be doing something like that. Not necessarily. You might also be doing a new move in the same way as you would. And then you're going into like competitive drilling, guard passing drills, first score training, first takedown training, hard sparring, hard rounds where you're trying to make you're trying to win the match as opposed to just enjoy yourself. And then you go home, and listen, it's enjoyable for me. It's enjoyable for a lot of people. A lot of people like to train that way. And anybody who's up in the competition class, who's in our competition class, enjoys that. That's their jam. But it might not be for you, and that's okay. And the notion that it's kind of like, it has to be moved on to is something that I think people need to get out of their minds. Because I think, even like for saying this as somebody who has done like good level competition, I'm not saying the highest level, but certainly good level competition, it doesn't necessarily increase your skill. It doesn't necessarily make you a better fighter. It doesn't make you a better martial artist. It might make you a better sports person. In other words, you might learn more about how to win matches, which is a different thing altogether. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're a better martial artist. It doesn't mean you're more technical or more skilled. It could just mean you're just a good competitor. You're just somebody who knows how to pull wins out of the bag and who has a good bit of grit in them. But it's not for everybody. And it doesn't have to be for everybody, and it certainly doesn't have to be for you. And I think that's something that I think people need to understand as well, particularly as they get a little bit older. It's like, look, I'm not raining on Mark Zuckerberg here as I say this, but if you are somebody who's like 39 years of age, like I'm just using him as an example, 39 years of age, already has a really good job. I think he's probably pretty happy with his career. Obviously he's somebody who just wants to go out there and challenge himself, and he wants to use that as he needs a new challenge, and he needs something to get his teeth into. And by all means, off you go. If that's you, and you're 39 years of age like him, or older or younger or whatever it is, yeah, by all means, go get your teeth into that, if that's what you want to do. I'm certainly not raining on that. I'm not trying to say that he was an idiot for doing it or anything like that. I probably would be of the same mindset. But if that's not you, then don't do it. I don't know why this is a thing that we all feel we have to do. We have to be, pushing the envelope, maxing out and all this blah, blah, blah. No, you can come, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy jiu-jitsu for what it is. And think about the competitive elements of jiu-jitsu as something completely different. Why not? Okay, that is me for today. The coffee is nearly gone. Just the last sip. Just to finish up today, It's coming towards the end of the year. I hate to be the one to mention Christmas here in early November, but we are sliding towards things like our Christmas belt test, our Christmas stuff. We are looking at the Dublin International Open and the Euro Kids in early December, and we're kind of eking our way towards the end of the year and the close of the year. So if you are somebody who's interested in getting better and improving yourself, I think setting a goal like, for example, going for your blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or going for your purple belt or brown belt, whatever it is just as good as going for competition. Just as good. Set that target in mind, whether it's your next stripe, whether it's your next belt, whatever it is, and put that one in. And it can be just as good and just as motivating as going for tournaments, going for competitions as well. So don't forget that. Just sometimes the competitions and gold medals tend to grab the headlines, but you're on your own goal, you're on your own path, you're on your own personal journey, as they say. So make sure that you're setting those goals, maybe instead of thinking about, I'm going to go win a gold medal or I'm going to go win, go to a tournament. It's just as important that you set your own personal stuff and make sure that you kind of hit those targets. And if that's your way of doing it, then let's go for it. Let's do that. Okay, I will see you on the mat. Thank you very much for watching.